There's a moment a lot of men don't talk about. It usually doesn't come with drama. No big breakdown. No sudden realization. Just a quiet look in the mirror one day, and the thought hits, is this really where I ended up? That was me at 42. Not overweight in a dramatic way, but soft, tired, low energy. The classic dad bod. That didn't happen overnight, but somehow became permanent without me noticing. And what made it worse was this. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't inactive. I had tried before. Gym memberships, random diets, cardio phases where I'd run hard for 2 weeks, then stop for 2 months. Every attempt worked briefly, and then everything came back. And that's when I realized something most men only understand too late. Fat loss isn't about effort. It's about systems you can actually maintain. And my 90-day transformation didn't start with motivation. It started with a completely different approach. At 42, something changes. Not overnight, but gradually enough that you ignore it for years. You recover slower. You feel more stiffness in the morning. Energy doesn't last like it used to, and fat starts to settle in places it never did before. For me, it was the belly. Not extreme, but constant and stubborn. And what frustrated me most was this. I wasn't eating dramatically more. I wasn't completely inactive. But my body still looked worse every year. That's when I learned something important. After 40, your body is not responding to intensity anymore. It's responding to consistency. And I had none. Just cycles. Start, stop, restart. And every restart felt harder than the last. Looking back, my old approach had one major flaw. It was built on extremes. If I was motivated, I'd go all in. Hard workouts, strict diets, no sugar, no carbs, no flexibility. But that version of me never lasted more than a few weeks. Because life doesn't stop at 42. Work still exists. Stress still exists. Family still exists. And when your plan only works in perfect conditions, it fails in real life. That's exactly what was happening. So I wasn't failing because I was weak. I was failing because my system was unrealistic. And that realization changed everything. My turning point wasn't a workout program. It wasn't a diet. It was a rule. If I can't do it daily, I don't do it at all. That's it. No complexity. No overthinking. Just sustainability. And that's when I built my 90-day system. It had only 3 parts. Daily movement, simple strength training, and recovery. Nothing extreme, nothing complicated, but something I could actually repeat. And that repetition is what started changing everything. The first change was almost too simple. 5 minutes of movement every day. That's it. Not a full workout. Not exhaustion. Just activation. Bodyweight squats, push-ups, light mobility, slow controlled movements. The goal was not to burn fat. The goal was to wake my body up again. Because at 42, the biggest issue isn't fat gain. It's inactivity accumulation. Your body becomes less aware of movement. Muscles stop getting consistent signals. And metabolism slowly adapts downward. So this 5-minute habit was not about intensity. It was about communication with my body. And something interesting happened within the first 2 weeks. I didn't lose weight immediately, but I felt different, less stiff, more energetic, more aware of my posture, and strangely, more in control of my eating. I still had a gym membership at that time. On paper, everything looked fine. I had access. I had equipment. I had the environment most people believe is necessary for fat loss. But when I looked closer at my actual behavior, I noticed something uncomfortable. The gym was not the problem. The real problem was the consistency barrier. Because going to the gym is never just about the workout itself. It's everything around it. Some days I was tired from work. Some days I was mentally drained. Some days I had time but no energy. And some days I simply didn't feel like going. Individually, those excuses don't look serious. But together, they quietly destroy consistency. And consistency is the one thing your body actually responds to after 40. Not perfect weeks. Not extreme effort. just repetition over time. So I made a decision that changed everything. I shifted my entire approach away from the gym and brought everything home. No travel time, no packing a bag, no waiting for machines, no mental negotiation before leaving the house. Just movement in the simplest possible form. And something interesting happened almost immediately. My consistency didn't improve slightly. It improved dramatically. Not because I suddenly became more disciplined, but because I removed friction. When something becomes easier to start, it becomes easier to repeat. And when repetition increases, results become inevitable. That single shift alone increased my consistency by what felt like 300%. Because now there were no excuses hiding in the background. If I had 5 minutes, I could move. If I had low energy, I could still do something light. If I was busy, I could still fit it in. And that is when real progress finally started. Not from intensity, but from repetition. If you want to add some real resistance to your upper body training at home, I've been using the arm twister trainer and chest expander. It's adjustable from 60 to 100 pounds, works for both men and women, and you don't need a gym for it. Link is in the description. By week 3, I added something very simple but powerful to the system. Walking. Not structured cardio. Not high-intensity intervals. Just natural daily walking. Around 20 to 40 minutes when possible. Especially after meals. At first, it felt too simple to matter. But over time, I realized something important. Walking does something most people completely underestimate. It lowers stress without draining recovery. And after 40, that balance becomes critical. Because stress is not just mental anymore. It becomes hormonal. And when stress stays high for too long, the body holds onto fat more stubbornly, especially around the belly. So instead of trying to burn more calories through harder workouts, I started focusing on reducing internal stress on the body. And walking became the tool that quietly fixed that. It helped regulate energy. It improved digestion, kept me moving without exhausting my system. And most importantly, it supported recovery instead of competing with it. At that point, my entire system became extremely simple. 5 minutes of daily activation, regular walking throughout the day, light strength training 2 to 3 times per week, and better sleep whenever possible. That was it. No complicated plan. No extreme diet rules. No rigid structure that would break under pressure. Just a system I could actually repeat in real life. And that repetition changed everything. Around week 4 to 5, I started noticing a shift. Not a dramatic transformation overnight, but something more subtle and more important. Consistency-based change. My body started responding again. Slowly at first, but clearly. Belly fat began to reduce. Not in sudden drops, but in a steady downward trend. My energy levels became more stable throughout the day. No more sharp crashes in the afternoon. No more feeling heavy after meals. And something I didn't expect also started happening. My cravings reduced naturally. Not because I was forcing discipline, but because my body was becoming more balanced. And then I realized something important. My body was no longer resisting fat loss. It was finally cooperating. And the reason wasn't that I started doing more. It was that I stopped fighting against my own system. Instead of pushing harder every day, I started working with how my body actually functions at 42. And that changed everything. Most men at 40 plus think fat loss requires more intensity, more suffering, more restriction. But that approach usually leads to burnout, inconsistency, and rebound weight gain. Because the real problem was never effort. It was sustainability. If a system cannot survive real life, cannot change your body long-term. One tool that helped me stay consistent with upper body work at home was the arm twister trainer and chest expander. The dual spring resistance goes from 60 to 100 pounds, so you can actually progress with it. No gym needed. Link is in the description. By the end of 90 days, the changes were clear. Not just on the scale, but in how I felt. Lighter, stronger, more stable energy, better sleep, and a body that finally felt responsive again. The dad bod didn't disappear because I punished myself. It changed because I became consistent. That's the real secret. Not intensity, not perfection, consistency. At 42, I learned something I wish I understood earlier. You don't need extreme workouts to change your body. You don't need perfect diets. And you don't need motivation every day. You need a system you can repeat even on bad days. Because your body doesn't transform from effort spikes. It transforms from daily patterns. And once those patterns lock in, everything starts to change quietly, then suddenly, then permanently. And that's how 90 days can turn a dad bod into a completely different version of you.